Hello friends, welcome to Fire Emblem Discussion. I came across what is literally the worst tier list I have seen thus far for Fire Emblem 3 houses. I'm not sure if this website does their tier list based on like feedback from their community or whatever else, or if some guy actually sat down and made this and thought it was a really good idea, but it's awful. So let's go over it together, shall we? Okay, we're gonna try and do this carefully here. So we'll start off with S tier, right? I'll just show the whole thing real quick. So S tier, we have Byleth and Edelgard. So I don't disagree with the fact that Edelgard and Byleth are extremely good units, and them being an S tier, it really depends on how you're judging it, but it's not awful. By putting them in S tier is pretty good, honestly. As far as other people being there, I mean, if I'm being honest, they are definitely not the two best units in the game. There is at least one character that comes to mind directly who is better, and then even might put Claude above both of them. I'd put Dimitri at least in the same tier as them. Then I would even consider putting like Sylvain in S tier because of his availability and how good he is, regardless of what route you're on, or even putting Leonie up there because of how good she can be and how clutch she can be. But I don't disagree with the two characters they put in S tier, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. A tier, strong. I agree with all of these characters being at least A tier or better. I would say Ingrid is worse than Claude, so this ordering is a little suspicious to me. However, this is a fine A tier. Again, Dimitri and Claude could go up, but this is fine. Moving on to B tier, we have Hubert, Mercedes, Sylvain, Hilda, Leonie, and Lorenz. So these characters, again, all of them, I would definitely put Sylvain at least in A tier. I think he's a lot better than just a B tier unit. I think he's a lot better than Hubert. I think he's a lot better than Lorenz. I think he does a lot more, can put a lot more work in, is available way more often, and he's just a really solid unit, makes a really good Wyvern Lord, right? As far as Mercedes, I would put her at least in A rank, just because of how good her healing ability is. I mean, I understand she doesn't have Warp or Rescue, but she does have Fortify and Physic, which is really clutch healing, really good, especially on Maddening mode. It's going to get you out of a lot of troublesome situations. I would argue Mercedes is an A tier unit, but B is honestly like, okay, I don't know. B, I can see why someone would put her in B. Hilda, I would put her in B as well. I think she's serviceable. I don't think she really shines until she gets into like Wyvern Rider or Wyvern Lord. I feel like she kind of struggles up until then. Once you get her death blow, she will be killing effectively like every player face. But until you get death blow, which will take a little bit of time, it's hard to raise her up. She doesn't start off super great, especially in Maddening. But Hilda, B tier is probably fine. Leonie, I disagree with B tier wholeheartedly. I think she is at least A tier, potentially an S tier unit. This is just bad. And Lorenz, I think bottom of B, top of C. I don't know. I think that's fine. He tries to be a hybrid unit, and like Dark Knight is like what he wants to be according to his weapon ranks. And he does fine as a pure magic user, and he does fine as a physical unit, I guess. But I don't know. I would put him. I guess B or C is fine for him. Now we get into some really just like odd stuff here, and it makes me question. This is where I really start to question why these people made this like the tier list the way it is, you know? So Ferdinand is okay. I mean, I'm not really going to argue Ferdinand being in B or in B compared to C. Like C's fine for him. And then we move on to Linhart. I would move Linhart up to at least B, potentially A, just because of Warp. And then also just chip damage and being able to heal is always nice. Petra is at least an A tier unit. She is super solid through the entire game. She will be one of your only units that can consistently double on Maddening difficulty in the like mid-early game. No one really doubles early game, but like mid-early game, Petra can get there, and that can be really useful. I would argue Petra is better than C tier. Again, at least A tier, in my opinion. Ashe fits in C tier pretty well. He does get Deadeye, which can be pretty clutch and have a long distance attack. but I don't get why he is so much higher in rank than, like, say, Bernadetta, who's down here at E. I think they're fairly similar units. They have similar toolkits and similar jobs. I don't see why that there's such a disparity between him and Bernadetta, but that's fine. Felix is, again, same as Petra, really fills the same role, will be a solid unit throughout the entire game, and in maddening will be one of your few units who can get to a point where they consistently double. Again, not in the very beginning, but earlier than most units they'll be doubling. So Felix, I think, would be at least an A tier, potentially an S tier unit. Ignatz, I think C tier is right about where Ignatz should be. I think C tier is fine. However, his rally ability is really, really good, and I would place him higher, maybe even B tier, just because of rally speed and rally strength on the same unit is really, really good, and I really like that. Marianne is a really good healer, and she can deal really good damage. So C tier is an if for me. I put a lot of stock into healing magic and white magic in general, and B is a place where I would probably put Marianne just because of physic, and she uses it really, really well. And it can be really helpful for an entire playthrough. So I would put Marianne in B personally. Now we look at D tier, and you know, I agree with Caspar being in D or E tier. His base stats, especially his base speed, are atrocious. And I understand that if you trained him, he can be good, but that's true of every unit in this game. He starts off so absolutely bad that it's hard to get him to a point where he's useful and usable, especially in maddening difficulty. In maddening, Caspar is straight awful. It's hard to get him to a point to be good, you know? You have to really work at it with this guy. Dorothea, again, decent healing, decent magic. She does learn Meteor, which is I don't know, it has some situations where it could be useful, and it allows her to do linked attacks from 10 spaces away, which is really, really good. But I think I would put, again, healing is great, and so is just doing magic and stuff. And I think anyone who's magic focused is at least a B tier in this game, aside from, actually, no, I was going to say aside from like Hubert, but even Hubert deals good damage, and he can learn Faith. It just takes him a little longer than other units. But I don't think Dorothea should be in D tier. I think she should definitely be higher. Annette, same story. Her speed is going to be awful throughout the entire game, unless you get really lucky. But it's not the worst thing in the world to have a slow mage, especially since she gets pretty decent magic stat. She'll deal heavy damage. But the most appealing thing about Annette is her rallies. She starts off with rally strength because of her personal skill, and she learns rally resistance and rally speed, and I believe she learns rally move. So Annette is a super good rally bot, just does not deserve to be in D tier. Even if her stats aren't the best, she'll always be a useful part of the team if you just use her for rallies. So I would put her at least in B tier for the rallying, potentially A because of how good her rallies are, and again, +4 strength in the early game of maddening is nothing to scoff at. It can be super useful and super clutch, especially taking down some of the tankier units in like even the first chapter of the game, like Dedu and Dimitri and other characters. So D rank for Annette is just embarrassing. Okay, now we have Bernadetta. Bernadetta, again, I said it earlier, I don't see why her and Ashe are so far apart. I think her and Ashe are very similar characters, and I would move her up to at least where Ashe is at in C tier. Being able to deal reliable chip damage from a distance is super useful. Again, she gets Deadeye, like Ashe does, and also starting off with Curve Shot is really, really nice, especially for the mock battle between the three houses and the first student battle you get, you know? So I think Bernadetta is at least a C tier, maybe a B tier. I think her and Ashe could both move up a little bit, but they should at least be together. I don't see them as two different units. They're both very similar. So I disagree with this placement. Now, Dedu and Raphael are interesting. They both have terrible speed, but they have really good strength and defense, right? That's kind of like their thing. And I would argue that I don't think anyone in this game is like E tier bad. I don't think anyone in this game is super like just weak and awful. I would argue Dedu and Raphael would be in like D tier at the very least, potentially C tier, depending on how much stock you put into having a really like tanky unit. Me personally, I'm not huge into Armor Knight or Fortress Knight or classes like that, but they can both deal good damage early on. They both have a decent strength stat to start off, which is really good. The only thing that holds them back is their terrible, terrible speed, which isn't going to get much better throughout the playthrough. So, putting them in E is a little harsh. I would say maybe top of D, bottom of C kind of characters. And now the best for last, this one, absolutely, this is why I made the video. I saw this one, I was like, what? I have to talk about this. These guys, whoever made this dum-dum, put Lysithea in F tier. Worst unit in the game according to this website, Ranked Boost. So again, I don't know if how they did this tier list, if it was like they played the game once and like all these, this is the units that were good and who were bad, or what to them. I don't think they actually looked at base stats or growth rates or acquired magics and skills and whatever else. But here we have Lysithea in F tier. Lysithea is without a doubt the best unit in the entire game. She has priority for using Thyrsus, which is a staff that gives her +2 range for her attack magics. She is just overly, just so good in the early game with chip damage. And then in the early, mid to late game, just the entire rest of the game, she kills things, deletes enemy health bars in one attack, guys. One attack. And that's not even mentioning her most appealing factor, which is her white magic, Warp. With her incredible magic stat, her warp range is bigger than any other characters in the entire game. By the end of your playthrough, she'll reach a point where she's able to warp between 8 to 10 spaces or even farther. Her warp range is ridiculous and allows you to warp a flyer with stride and beat plenty of maps in one turn. But even if you don't want to beat maps in one turn and LTC the game, she can just nuke enemies for you on player phase. And because this game is so player phase heavy, not having a good enemy phase doesn't really matter. This guy who put the Lysithea in F tier obviously was either didn't use her and didn't understand how good she was, or put her there because she died too often for him because he played bad or something. I don't know how you get to a point where you say, oh, Lysithea is the worst character in the game, because she's so obviously better than literally everyone else. Lysithea is a tier of her own. She's so good. But anyways, let me know what you think about this tier list, because honestly, it's really bad. It has no rhyme or reason to it. So please go. I'll put the link in the description for this tier list so you can check it out yourself as well. But I'm just really interested to see what you have to say on it in the comments. So let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe for more Fire Emblem discussion. And of course, check out our Patreon page to check out some cool rewards you can get. And also support the channel because we want to keep doing these awesome videos for you, but we need your help. So head on over to the Patreon. The link's in the description. Go check that out. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.